The snow fell softly over the base, silent and steady, the kind that made the world feel smaller and lonelier. Sergeant Elena Walker stood outside the operations building, hands tucked deep into her jacket pockets, staring at the faint glow of Christmas lights someone had strung along the fence. They flickered unevenly, like they were tired too. For the first time since she'd put on the uniform 8 years ago, Elena felt something crack inside her chest. She didn't want a medal. She didn't want praise. She just wanted to go home for Christmas. The request sat on the commander's desk like a live grenade. Emergency leave, it read, written in neat, disciplined handwriting that barely hinted at the storm behind it. Her mother was sick, not critically, not yet, but sick enough that Elena could hear fear hiding in her voice during their short phone calls. Her younger brother was trying to be strong. Her father had been gone for years. Elena was all they had. She didn't ask often. In fact, she almost never asked for anything. But this time, she asked to go home. The base was understaffed, tensions were high, a rotation was delayed, and another unit hadn't arrived yet. Christmas didn't stop the mission, and everyone knew it. When word quietly spread that Sergeant Walker had put in for leave, reactions were mixed. Some understood immediately, others looked away, afraid sympathy might weaken discipline. A few muttered things about timing, about duty, about how everyone missed someone. Captain Harris called her in that evening. He was a fair man, graying at the temples, with tired eyes that had seen too many holidays spent in uniform. He didn't sit behind his desk. He stood by the window when she entered. "I read your request," he said calmly. Elena nodded. "Yes, sir." There was a long pause. Outside, the wind howled. "I can't approve it," he said finally, voice heavy. "Not right now." Elena swallowed. She had expected it. Still, it hurt more than she thought it would. "I understand, sir." "I know you do," he replied. "That's what makes this hard." She saluted, turned, and walked out without another word. No tears, no protest, just the familiar weight settling back onto her shoulders. Duty first, always. That night, Elena sat alone in the barracks, staring at a small photo taped inside her locker. Her family, years ago, all smiling, before life had scattered them in different directions. Christmas music drifted faintly from somewhere down the hall. Laughter echoed. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly, steadying herself. Then she stood up and made a decision that would change everything. Instead of packing her bags, Elena signed up for every extra shift she could. Overnight patrols, maintenance details, guard duty no one wanted. When asked why, she simply said, "Someone's got to do it." She volunteered to cover for soldiers with young kids, for those who were counting the hours until Christmas morning video calls. She traded smiles for exhaustion, sleep for service. Word spread quietly at first. "Walker took my shift," someone said in the mess hall. "She took mine too," another replied. People noticed. They didn't say much, but they noticed. 3 days before Christmas, a sudden winter storm hit harder than expected. Roads iced over, power flickered across the base. A supply convoy got stuck miles out, communications failing. The base went on high alert. It was cold, dangerous, and chaotic. Elena was already on duty when the call came in. A section of the perimeter fence had gone dark, sensors offline. If someone was going out to check it, it had to be now. "I'll go," Elena said without hesitation. Captain Harris looked at her. "You've been on shift for 12 hours. She met his eyes. "I'm still good, sir." He hesitated, then nodded. "Take a team." She shook her head. "Faster alone." Against his better judgment, he agreed. The wind cut like a blade as Elena moved through the snow, boots crunching, breath fogging the air. Visibility was poor. Every step was deliberate. She reached the darkened section and quickly realized it wasn't just a power issue. The fence had been damaged, intentionally. Someone had tried to exploit the storm. Her radio crackled. Static. She adjusted it, then stopped. Footprints. Fresh. Leading away from the fence. Elena didn't think about Christmas. She didn't think about home. Training took over. She followed the tracks, heart pounding, every sense alert. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Then she saw movement. The confrontation was brief but intense. Cold hands. Slippery ground. Pain flaring and fading. When it was over, Elena stood alone in the snow, shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. The threat was neutralized. The base was safe. When she finally reported back, battered and exhausted, the storm had begun to ease. News traveled fast this time. Very fast. Christmas Eve arrived quietly. No fanfare, just duty rosters and routine. Elena sat in the mess hall, eating slowly, when an announcement crackled over the loudspeaker. All personnel, assemble outside. Full dress. Immediately, confusion rippled through the base. Minutes later, soldiers lined up in the cold, ranks forming under the pale winter sky. Elena stood near the back, unsure what was happening. Captain Harris stepped forward. His voice carried clearly. "This base has seen many acts of service," he began. "But few remind us why we wear this uniform as clearly as what we witnessed this week." He turned toward Elena. Sergeant Walker, front and center. Her heart hammered as she stepped forward. She felt exposed, unsure, suddenly wishing she could disappear. She asked to go home for Christmas, the captain said. And when she couldn't, she chose to make sure others could. She carried our load without complaint. And when the base needed her most, she stood alone in the storm. He paused. "Sergeant, you've reminded us that service isn't about orders. It's about sacrifice." Then something unexpected happened. The captain raised his hand in salute. One by one, every soldier on the base followed. The sound of boots snapping together echoed across the snow-covered ground. Rows of hands rose in perfect unison, a silent, powerful tribute. Elena's vision blurred. She stood frozen, overwhelmed, as an entire base saluted her, not for rank, not for recognition, but for heart. Tears finally came, hot against the cold. She returned the salute, hands trembling. Later that night, Captain Harris called her into his office again. This time, he was smiling. "Your leave request," he said, sliding a paper across the desk. "Approved. Transportation's already arranged." Elena stared at it, stunned. "Sir, I don't. You've earned it," he said simply. "Go home." On Christmas morning, Elena stepped into her mother's small living room, snow melting off her boots, arms full of laughter and tears. For the first time in years, she felt whole. Back on the base, the lights still flickered on the fence. The mission continued, but something had changed. They remembered that Christmas, not for what they received, but for what one soldier gave. And long after the snow melted, the story lived on. A reminder that true leadership doesn't ask who is watching. It steps forward anyway.